You travel back in time and feel. What else would you do if you could travel back in time?
There's so many things I would like to know the answer to. It's a good question. I'd like to better understand the process by which certain things were created over, we have these various inventions and things, like those creative moments, seeing that. Would love to see various historic events occur,
Yeah.
Especially nerdy artistic ones,
Yeah.
There were also some concerts and things that would have been nice to have been at, but full honesty, I'm much more interested in traveling to the future than the past. But there's a lot of extinct animals I'd like to see.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot of like places in nature where we have just bird migrations. They talk about like there being so many birds that had darkened the sky for days.
Really?
Yeah. So we as a generation have forgotten that.
Well, I've never witnessed it. Yeah.
Well, the last of those, there were versions of that, but so for me, that's like the most disturbing thing is that, like the amount of fish that are currently in the rivers. When they say it was so thick you could just put a net in and just pull them out, during the salmon run, that wasn't a joke. That was actually the reality. The fish, they're having to struggle. They're using these giant nets to just basically haul the ocean in because there's nothing left.
Right. Except for plastic bags.
Yeah, a lot of those. But it's just like, we have such an ability to think that the way things are now is the way things they have always been. Mm-hmm. It's a very bizarre concept to me.
Yeah, we're boxed in. Well, currently, I don't think either of those types of travel are possible.
No.
Whether it's traveling back in time or traveling forward in time. But what's an event that you would like to witness if you could travel forward in time? What do you want to see unfold in the future?
Your death. No, just
Do you have 5 minutes?
oh god, is it that? Jesus, I mean we are pretty high up.
I felt a tap on my shoulder.
Oh yeah. Well, I do love that idea. There's the idea that it's the Buddhist aphorism that you are supposed to have a little bird on your shoulder, and every day you turn and ask the little bird, is this the day that I'm going to die? It's not meant to be morbid. It's mostly just meant to like bring you into the present. And I like that concept. Yeah, honestly, that's a really good question. I'd love to go. Can I bring things back with me? That's the question. Because if I can bring things back with me, there's so many cures for diseases, for death, even things like that. Because I'm obsessed with the concept. I really am obsessed with human longevity for a very simple reason. Now, people might worry about overpopulation. That I'm not actually. Once you get societies like Japan and stuff to a certain like level of education, health, etc., you see the population decline, not go up. So there's a problem there. So I'm not actually that worried about that. But if we had longer longevity, it's been a long week. If we had a longer lifespan, then I feel life would become more meaningful, because if you die, it's like a big thing. It's like, oh wow, I missed out on a lot.
It's pretty permanent.
It's pretty permanent. And also, our actions would truly have consequences. Like I feel like a lot politically is done, a lot environmentally is done where we pretend that we think it has consequences, but we don't really have to own those actions. We're not living in the dump that we are creating. It's, generations removed from us. Getting closer and closer.
Yeah,
but
depending on where you live.
Oh no, oh god, there are places that are already living in absolute...
But if you've got increased longevity, it's got to be paired with quality of life, right?
Correct.
Because who
correct.
wants to live a miserable life for 150 years?
Or for 500 or 1,000 years. So I completely agree with that. I feel like increased longevity will begin to make us more, hypothetically will make us more responsible for our actions.
Yeah.
That would be my hope.
Yeah.
Because I think we toss things forward that we don't actually have to deal with, especially in the more developed or richer parts of the planet, and the richer people in those.
Pass the buck over to.
We pass the buck. Well, we pass the buck to poorer regions,
Yeah.
Including within our own countries, and we don't really deal with the consequences of our actions, but we would have to. So, yeah. I think that's the only potential of us saving ourselves is that.
Okay. Well, if you travel into the future and you want to bring things back with you, I'll allow it.
Good. That's cool.
Yeah. So before we get too carried away with that conversation or other, that line of thinking,
Yeah.
I should introduce the podcast. So,
Oh,
hey
good start.
everybody. I'm Jim Schneider, and this is my video podcast. It's called Work in Progress, where I talk to my friends about their work, why they do it, how they got started with it, the challenges they face while working, how they overcome those challenges, things they might like to improve in their own work life, and any goals, ambitions they might have in their careers, and anything else that comes up. It's a free form. It's going to be like jazz here. This discussion, and my guest today, is my good friend Joshua Davies. We're having our 20-year friend anniversary.
Good God, that's true.
Coming up in 2024. Actually,
that is correct.
We met in 2004, but I'm going to let you do the heavy lifting of explaining what you do for work. So feel free to just introduce yourself. You can look at the camera here, tell the audience who you are and what you do.
Yeah, awesome. Should I mention how we met, or?
Sure, go right ahead. Yeah.
Just since we're doing a 20-year anniversary soon, I met James because his former flatmate in Praha, moved out to be with his partner, with their partner, and so they had a vacancy, and I was just going to be staying for a couple of months in Prague. I lived there before, and I was just pretending to be a writer, so doing some writing and stuff. And I rented a room there, and then somehow persuaded both of my flatmates that it was a good idea to come join me in Korea, which turned out all right.
Yeah.
So who in the world I am? So Joshua, originally from Hawaii, Honolulu, Navy brat from there. Father was a dentist, retired now. Awesome humans. So was originally from there, but lived outside the US mostly for the last 21, 22 years. Currently based here in Hong Kong, but as you can see behind me. But lived all over the place. Lived in South America, in India, all over Europe. Was based in Korea, for quite some time as well. Way back in the day, I was university faculty, so I mostly in like the businessy type areas, like presenting, persuasive communications, negotiation, that kind of stuff. Original plan was to go back and do a PhD. Did all like the GREs and all that, studied all that kind of good stuff. Got the scores I needed, but then accidentally got headhunted into a corporate training firm. Literally, I was just doing some workshops through the university I was at Yonsei in Korea, and someone in the audience was like, we do this for companies as well. Well, you want to come try it out? I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And it paid a lot more than universities did. Not as much free time. We did love our free time in universities, other than doing all the academic stuff on the side. But I thought I'd give it a shot. And that was a long time ago. Because it basically lets me go out and do research and experiment in active companies. Still do research in a more academic environment at times, but get to do that in various corporations and nonprofits. So this is a long answer.
No, this is excellent. This is what the conversation's all about.
I'm really convincing you that I'm a very succinct speaker. It's been a long week. So we talk about the challenges of work, which is apparently coming up later. I don't even know what the questions are.
So let me ask you some questions, because you've given them a lot. That's a very hearty introduction.
That's a hearty introduction.
And there are some things that I can ask you about to your introduction. So you're a corporate trainer.
That was the original start. We do more than that now. Yeah. So we do it's not a royal we. There is actually a team. Research, so in comms, like doing actual research on business corpuses, where you're looking at these giant hundreds of thousands of hours of business conversation and looking at patterns of success and failure within that. Easiest person to study within that is like Dr. Elizabeth Stocco, amazing conversation analyst. Mm-hmm. So that's like on the academic research side. We also do consulting within that space, helping people do their strategy around that. training for both larger and smaller groups, nonprofits, for-profits, and also like senior level coaching in the space. So if anything from coaching all the way to research, that whole spectrum, but we're always working in that, how can we improve human communication? How can we like defossilize our conversations?
Right. So you could be described as a conversation architect, right? I believe that's the title on your LinkedIn page.
It's
if I'm not
almost
mistaken.
it's almost what my LinkedIn title is, because it's strange enough. Full confession, I did not invent that term, although I wish I had. But
It's an apt term.
it's an apt term.
Yeah.
And architects, if you like look at architecture books, there's like literally books called like the language of architecture, the language, and they use a lot of. They steal a lot of terms from linguistics and bring it into architecture. So I feel we can steal terms from architecture and bring it into linguistics. I mean, they're taking from us. We should take from them. So yeah, it's about how can we design better conversations, more conscious ones.
And so when you made the shift from working at being a professor at Yonsei, which by the way it's a top, for those who don't know, it's a top university in Korea, in Seoul.
I would say faculty,
faculty.
professor. Don't have a PhD. A couple masters, but I don't want to claim.
Okay.
We always gave crap to the people who had the masters like us, and where they would go, oh, I am professor, da da da. And I know I'm not big on titles or anything whatsoever, but still, it just felt like a bit of putting on airs. Where I haven't done a PhD, and I have deep respect for my friends who have.
Sure.
But I was faculty. So
Okay.
yeah.
So faculty at Yonsei into corporate training. How long ago did you start that? Was that, say, 2010-ish? Or slightly earlier?
Around then. I was wearing two hats around then. So I was doing mostly the university work.
Kind of dipping your toes.
But doing also doing this on the side, and beginning to do more and more and just enjoying it. So
Yeah. And enjoying the little extra.
Not worrying about my rent each month was
Yeah.
helpful.
That's always nice.
Being able to go home and see my family was very, very helpful.
Sure.
So,
While you were a teacher.
While I
you
was
faculty, I should say. Yeah.
I was a teacher. I have no airs about it. Yeah, I was a teacher. Yeah. I'm still a teacher. I mean, that's still. I mean, we relabel it, but
Right.
It's
education.
in the education
Training.
space.
Okay, and then you kind of struck out on your own I want to say 2013?
2014.
2014?
Yeah, about
and
4 years in.
Yeah, and moved from Seoul to Hong Kong.
Yes.
And then that's the birth of Knowmium.
Knowmium,
right?
yes,
Right?
which originally had a much worse name that I pulled out of a hat because I needed a name really quickly for corporate registration. So it was 1221 Consulting, because
Right.
it's a numerical palindrome.
Right.
That's the solstice. Real cheesy.
But didn't it also line up with the timing of when you were starting the company?
Close.
Yeah.
Technically,
It was close.
technically the registration was like December 5th, and flew to Hong Kong actually after that. Flew to Hong Kong on April 20th. So on 4/20, flew to Hong Kong. And,
Yeah. Cool, man.
Cool, man. Unintentionally,
Yeah.
but it does mean I remember the first day I was. I don't have to think. I do remember the first day I was in Hong Kong.
Yeah. Cool. And so, yeah, Seoul to Hong Kong. What were some of the different? Well, why Hong Kong actually?
So there's a couple considerations. It was one of the locations I'd been doing the work in. So the firm that I had previously worked with, they were based out of Hong Kong. And essentially, if you're going to be in like that learning and development consulting space, the two major markets in Asia you can be based out of are either Hong Kong or Singapore. Love Singapore, great walkable neighborhoods like Mosque Street, Little India, like just, hey, there's my cup from Singapore.
Great food.
Food. It's a wonderful place, but I'm also a trail runner, so I like hiking and trail running. And Hong Kong, most people associate it with like city, like what's right behind us. But like 60% of Hong Kong is like park, and it's like big mountainous park with hundreds and hundreds of kilometers of trails. Not American hyperbole, literally hundreds of kilometers of trails, weaving through villages and mountains and fields, and so I needed that. So from a business perspective, it had to be one of those two locations. There are other trainers who can make it work in certain other geographies, but those are the two main hubs in Asia for this kind of space, and it has more mountains. I wish I could say. I mean, there's a lot of other things I like about Hong Kong, but it had more mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe is the weather a little bit kinder than Singapore's?
You know, yes and no. I like that Hong Kong gets colder in the winter and that it does have some degree of seasons, whereas Singapore is just flat out the same. But oddly enough, like the consistency of Singapore, the humidity in there feels less humid. I don't know how else to describe it. So a hot day in Singapore, at least from my experience, and I have actually been there a lot. I know from my hotel booking app that I've spent over 180 nights. I've spent more than half a year in Singapore. So I've seen a lot of different seasons.
Yeah.
The humidity there is less humid. I don't know how to describe it other than that. So like when it gets miserably hot here for like going out on runs and hikes, it's more painful than I find it is in Singapore, but there's a lot more of the year that's got that kind of coolness where you can go out. Like now, it's actually quite nice outside right now.
Yeah,
Light
yeah.
jacket, this is comfortable. I would not wear this in Singapore. I would melt.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. An interesting thing about Hong Kong, and it's only my second time visiting Hong Kong. The first time was in, I think, it was shortly after you moved here.
A month after I moved here, yeah.
And at that time, you were staying in Wai Wo, which is a little more.
Yeah.
I mean,
on Lantau Island, yeah, we will. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you could say it's a little more rural. That's not a great term, I think, but it's not.
Oh, it's not a city.
central. Yeah.
No, it's not a city. It's much more of a village. It's got a couple like apartment buildings now, but it's much more of a small little community out there.
Yeah. But even here on Hong Kong
Yeah.
Island, it has the feel of a mountain. I mean,
it's
like an urban sort of a park, I guess, in a way, because you have to do so much climbing.
Yep.
If you're
It's that
a
San
pedestrian,
Francisco vertical. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going up steps all the time, and it's a great way to stay fit. I think just exploring the city.
It is, and you have nature extremely close. Within 5
Right.
minutes, you can be seeing wild boars, cobra,
Yeah.
always good. We have a lot of poisonous snakes in Hong Kong, and spiders the size of your face, which is, that's your favorite thing. I know.
No thanks. Actually, I'm fine looking at them. I just don't want them on me.
That's actually, so for the running club, we do deeply miss one of our runners from Lantau. He's now moved back to the States. And his nickname was Spider-Man because he would run in front. He had no fear of the webs, and he would clear them for us.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we liked him
real
for that.
team player.
He's a real team player. He got bit a few times. I mean,
Yeah.
they're harmless spiders, but if you run right onto them, they're gonna bite you.
Right.
They're not aggressive. They're great.
Yikes. So, what kind of a spider is that?
It's a golden orb spider. It has just because we looked this up. I mean, there's got other types of spiders in Hong Kong, but the big ones are the golden orb ones, and they're seasonal. But they have something. I think it was the highest tensile strength for the webbing is strong.
Yeah.
Is the short answer. So it's you really don't want to run through it.
Right.
Yeah.
You could take the web and maybe a spider with you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You definitely can take a spider with you.
Yeah. No, thank you. Okay. So Hong Kong, you love living here, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
You
overall.
love the place. You've been here going on a decade.
I just got my
Or
PR.
just passed?
I just got my PR, my permanent residency, which is the 7-year mark, and I've been here about 7-8 years. Just because when I was doing a startup as a company, it takes a little while to process your initial visa, like 6 months. So I was here a little bit before the actual visa processed. But yeah, so I've been here about 8 years.
Okay. But you don't just work in Hong Kong. As you mentioned before, you spent, in total almost half a year going to Singapore for work. And you do, especially pre-COVID, you did a lot more travel, right? Now I think you can do more remote work.
Thankfully, yeah. So I've done this like virtually in 35 plus countries and face-to-face in 27 countries on like 5-6 continents. Because I did work in South America, but I haven't done this particular role face-to-face there, although virtually. But yeah, like the peak of that was 2019, where I had 123 flights in a single year, which is a horrible thing to do.
Yeah,
so I'm
that's a lot of
extremely
flying.
happy. I'm extremely happy. We can do about half of our work remote now.
Yeah.
Still. I still do a lot of travel. I've got I'll be in like a couple countries in the next couple of weeks. Taiwan this weekend, then Singapore next week, and then Shanghai and Beijing. And we still do stuff in North America, Europe, Australia, that kind of stuff. But thankfully, some of the stuff has been reduced.
Right. And I guess that's kind of a positive consequence in some ways of COVID, right? It's made
Yeah.
it more possible to do and more accepted to do remote work.
Well, it's also it's quite a bit more environmentally friendly for that.
Absolutely,
It's like there is a benefit to bringing people physically together, especially if you got a bunch of teams from all over, bringing them together to have those conversations. But for a lot of the follow-up work we do, flying people in or flying me there, it just doesn't make sense. So it's good to have like those face-to-face touch points along the journey, but a lot of the interstitial types of stuff can be done well virtually, as long as their environments and our environments are set up to allow for that.
And so just out of curiosity, tell me a benefit of face-to-face training or meeting. What's one of those benefits?
Yeah, good question. So easiest one to think of is this idea of liminal spaces. And it's easy, that the fancy way of saying like the difference between a virtual office and a face-to-face office is we don't have like a break room with like, that idle coffee chat type
Yeah,
things.
right, the water cooler
Yeah,
talk.
exactly.
Yeah.
And there's been attempts to recreate that in virtual spaces, which have met with extremely mixed success. Of all the things that don't work extremely well. Now there are exceptions. There are some really good online like scavenger hunt, so for intentional team building collaboration type things, there are some great ones. But for just the casual random ones, you're not randomly going to be online and just, oh, hey, how's it going? It's not that kind of thing. So a lot of the psychological safety around some organic, more free-form discussions is in some ways easier to build in a face-to-face environment. Although, if you want to democratize participation using like collaborative spaces in a virtual environment, especially if you've got team dynamics where there's some really dominant people, it's the reverse. Sometimes online can actually help you to scaffold that up and get some of the quieter voices to the surface.
Okay, sure.
So there's pros and cons to both.
Yeah.
But face-to-face just, they've done all these studies on Zoom where, I mean, again, there are really great ways to work with it, but also where, in terms of your cognitive processing, just face-to-face, you're much more able to process human interactions in a way that doesn't exhaust you. Whereas if you've got these wall of faces looking at you, it just can become a bit exhausting at a certain point.
Sure, and also, face-to-face, you don't have to deal with as many technical
Correct.
problems,
Oh,
right?
yes.
So there's no delays, no glitches, no
Yeah,
going
exactly.
offline, no embarrassing...
No noisy stuff around you, because you're
Right.
usually in a special, whereas when people are dialing in virtually, sometimes they don't feel they can speak freely because they're like colleagues next to them. So,
Sure.
their colleagues right next to them, and
Yeah.
that's like, I can't say that here. Whereas if we're in like a safe environment, it's easier.
Yeah.
So again, pros and cons to everything.
Yeah. But I think it was in 2019 or 2020 when remote work really started to increase,
Yeah.
largely due to COVID. You actually put a book out
Yeah.
called Radically Remote, right? So that's all about giving tips, tricks, little useful nuggets of helpful information on how to improve the efficacy of online training or conversation,
Yeah.
right? Collaborative work.
Yeah, I mean, so like, for example, in like sales, selling via virtual means had been doubling since like 2015. So there was that trajectory anyways, but it became exponential obviously when COVID hit.
Yeah.
But from like an educational perspective, like facilitation, live online facilitation, so TD, like the training and development, global train, TD, it used to be called like ASTD, then ATD, I lose track, ATD. They did this big study where like in 2019, less than 15% of trainers had ever really facilitated virtually. Whereas just by random occurrence, my original master's in science of education had focused on blended and hybrid type learning, like
Yeah.
way back in the day.
Yeah.
I don't want to say how long ago, a long time ago. Oh God, it's 20 years ago, 20 years ago.
Still this century.
Still this
21st
still 21st century, but it was early days of that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
we were essentially, we've been trying to get clients to use it for years so we could travel less, but suddenly they were all like, yeah, but we recognized that a lot within our space were really struggling with it. So I mean, I'm not a doctor or a nurse or like during a global crisis, that wasn't going to be a way I could help out,
Right.
but I could help people within our space, along with my colleagues, we could help people in our space to be able to make that transition and continue to be able to educate and help people. So we put out a book on it for free and did a whole bunch of free like workshops, just trying to upskill. Actually ended up being thousands of people. So it was cool, yeah.
Awesome. And so where
fun.
can interested people find that book? I know it's on Amazon. You can get it on
Oh
Amazon.
yeah, don't pay for it on Amazon. That's because just Amazon makes us set the price to. We set it for the lowest we could.
Right.
But they'll only let you make it free if it's exclusive on Amazon. And we
Yeah.
actually wanted to put it on like Apple Books and a bunch of other places. So I think it's like $1 on Amazon or something. Just on our website. If you Google the phrase "radically remote," it'll be like the top Google hit.
Or Knowmium.com.
Yeah, knowmium.com.
Yeah.
You can go there, and it's on there as well. But just if you Google the phrase, it comes up.
And I'll link to that in the description of the podcast. So if you're interested, and you should be interested, because it's a good read and useful, especially if you do online remote work.
Not so much for gardening. It's not so much good for gardening. But yeah, if you do virtual work. And my colleague wrote one more about the hybrid stuff a couple years later, and it's also a nice read. Also on Amazon, also free on the website though. Yeah. So.
Okay. Yeah. So those things will be linked to below. Check it out. And let's talk about the giving speech.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this is nonprofit work that you do to help who with their presentation skills?
Yeah.
Public speaking skills.
Yeah. No, happy to talk. So our Knowmium is a certified B Corp, certified climate neutral. Way back in the day, this was when we even in the founding charter when we started this company up. It was this idea of trying to be. I love this concept of corporations for good. Just. This idea that you can be truly, truly ethical. And so part of what was built into the original charter is that anyone working for the company, I think 20% time that is dedicated to pro bono nonprofit work. And so it's essentially, the slightly cheesy tagline we have is, we help people who do good do better. So it's been
I like it.
But it's been a really wide variety from doctors to domestic helpers groups to environmental groups. I couldn't narrow it down to one small area they would do. I was doing stuff for Service Design Hong Kong, doing volunteer work for that because it's a big conference they put on. But just doing pro bono work to help support them do their work better. Whether that's around narrative, influence, talking to grant people to get grants to actually make these nonprofits be able to keep surviving and helping people. We just help them with their comms across the spectrum, myself and my colleagues. So.
Well, that's awesome. I think it's also a great way for you to get more connected with the community here in Hong Kong, right? Because is that all local? The giving speech?
Not all local. We've done stuff in throughout Asia as well as in Europe. Not so much in North America. We did a little bit virtually in North America. So I do a lot of corporate work in North America, which is why I'm tired today, because I got sessions till 4 a.m. tonight because we're doing Latin America, I'd say probably maybe 50% of it's 40% in Hong Kong. Just because we are physically based here, but we do a bunch in volunteer work in Singapore, throughout other areas of APAC. We've done it in Korea, Japan, Australia. Some stuff in Europe, so it depends year to year, especially because we can do some things virtually.
Yeah.
That we're able to draw in nonprofits and NDO from a fairly wide array.
Yeah, nice. So the giving speech is just as global as Knowmium.
I mean, it's hypothetically just as global, but just like Knowmium, we don't do any marketing for either of them.
Yeah.
So I'd say the awareness that we have this is as a thing that we do is. How to put it? It keeps us busy. We're able to get enough of the. We've got our volunteer hours quite filled. Although, if anybody does have a worthy org that would like to reach out for that, we're always happy to put people on the list for basically when we have gaps, being able to do that kind of volunteer work within that space. We're always happy to add people within that. But I just think because of the way everything's done word of mouth, it has been a bit more regional. But it's still technically is global.
And there's a separate website for the giving speech?
It's a subpage on the Knowmium website. Okay. If I have set my URLs up correctly, Giving Speech does redirect to it. But Bluehost is a terrible web hosting service. Terrible. But we've been on them forever and a day, and switching is really annoying.
Yeah.
Every couple of years, I have to fix the URL redirects, and sometimes I'll remember.
Well, they'll find it.
They'll find it.
Yeah.
Giving Speech, Knowmium. It's on there. It'll be linked below.
Okay, so between the giving speech and Knowmium,
Yeah.
you're, and the travel that's required and the time zone shifts. You are a busy man with an interesting schedule, not your typical,
No,
Monday to
not
Friday,
9 to 6.
9 to 6 kind of schedule. But I
I
know
always
that
hate the term busy. Like, there was this great quote: "Never worship at the altar of busyness." It's like the book 4,000 Weeks.
well,
Time
yeah,
Management for Mortals. Just this idea that busy is like something to look up to. It's not.
Right,
It's
right.
absolutely not. But anyway, I interrupted you.
No,
Yeah.
no, you make a good point. I mean, there's a difference between being busy and being productive, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's better to be productive than just busy. You want to actually be accomplishing things, not just have your time
Yeah,
full.
or even accomplishing nothing, but intentionally accomplishing
Exactly, yeah,
nothing,
yeah.
which is a beautiful thing as well.
Yeah,
Like,
because we need leisure,
Yeah.
rest, relaxation.
Yes, absolutely.
Sometimes just meditation, and that's where my question was going actually, because you are, well, you're a busy guy anyway. I mean,
Thank you.
you have a full schedule, let's say. So what do you do in your off hours to relax or for fun
yeah.
or for health?
For me, it's a combination that the relaxing and health tend to go together. So personally, I mean, one of the reasons I moved to Hong Kong is it's got a lot of trails. So
Yeah.
I love hiking and running, getting as far out in nature. You might not think you can find that, but in Hong Kong, you get far enough out there and you're not seeing anyone. It's just beaches and like jungle and waterfalls and all that
Spiders.
stuff. And spiders, lots of spiders.
and snakes.
So that, and honestly, just reading a ridiculous amount of books, either paperbacks or Kindling. Hanging out with friends, going for a beautiful breakfast biscuits at Pawnee Cafe, also linked below. No, maybe it's not. I don't know. It's a great cafe. We love.
I'll try to remember that one.
We love them. But yeah, Pawnee Cafe. Just going and just seeing friends, having conversations, playing copious amounts of board games. So, board games, hiking, reading books, and seeing friends. I mean, and then go see friends and family on travel every once in a while. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Meditation for chilling as well. Going to the gym because I am aging and need to maintain upper body strength to be a runner that does not break things too easily.
Right, meaning bones.
I have done that. I have done that because, again, need to get that core strength.
What did you break?
Wrist.
Oh, so you were trail running, and then you had a fall?
I would like to
assume?
pretend I was trail running, but full honesty, this was on a recce run, so short for reconnoiter. We were doing a practice run of this one over in Pat Sing Leng, the Eight Immortals. Beautiful course. It was super slippery. We all knew it was slippery, so we were actually walking on this one section. I mean, tiptoeing. How slippery it was! It was like ice, and I just whoosh. Thought it was fine. 2 hours later, the wrist was like frozen. I'm like,
Ouch.
I'm gonna run it on in, skip the last part of the run, I'm gonna go to the hospital, get that scan.
Yeah.
Thought it was just sprained. Nah, it was broken.
Ouch.
It's fine now. This is like a month ago. It's ish. It's okay.
Hey, 1 month, not bad.
Yeah, I still can't do very good push-ups anymore though at the moment. So it's.
Well, you got to do those one-handed.
Oh yeah, I'm doing all those one-handed push-ups. I can plank, but I can't do. I'm benching. Yeah, no, I'm not. As much as I love the people at my gym, I'm not a lover of gyms. It's purely, except Jim Schneider's. There we are. But it's.
Jim Carrey's.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Jim Carrey, definitely. Anti-vax, Jim Carrey, not so much, not so much. Supporting, going in favor of the arts, Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Again, he's got pieces of him that I like, and other pieces where I'm like, all right, Jim, cool. You do
You do you.
You do you.
Well, that's true of most humans.
That is true with most humans. That's true with most humans. That's true with me as well, I'm sure.
And you have a race coming up this weekend, right?
I do, yeah, in Taiwan. I'm going there. I've got a couple good friends who are going as well. I'm doing the 22-kilometer one, so that's a shorter race. That's like so it's over half marathon, but it's like a kilometer and a half up and down. Quite technical, like some rope stuff on it. But my buddy's doing the 50 plus kilometer race because he's a glutton for punishment. I don't have a 50-kilometer one until December, so I've got at least 3 whole weeks before I got to run
which is
50.
next month, by the way. Yeah.
And run is a relative term. Finish is the goal.
Yeah.
Finish is the goal.
Yeah.
Trying to finish.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, as much as you travel, I wonder if you could give our audience a couple of travel tips. When you're flying a lot, what is something you can do to improve your flying experience, especially if it's international travel or a long flight?
Oh God.
What do you do to make your flying experience more
Better.
comfortable?
Comfy pants. Yeah. Don't dress fancy for the plane. No one needs to dress fancy.
Three-piece suits?
No one needs to dress fancy for the plane. Like even if I'm going right from like the office location to that, not that I ever wear suits, but it's instantly at the airport. Even if there's like no lounge access, it's go. Wipe on down, get some comfy clothes on just to ride that. Noise canceling headphones are your best friend.
Yes.
Greatest thing on the planet. The ones on the plane don't work well enough, but
Terrible.
get a Manta brand linked below, sponsoring this video. No, Manta. They were originally Kickstarter. There's these great they're called Manta masks. They're amazing eye masks. Other things like just for travel experience. If you have hard shell luggage, that hard shell equipment takes up about 20 to 30% of the actual space. Mm-hmm. So if you want to actually travel lighter and you don't mind like more of a backpack stuff, I like the Tom Bin. Mm-hmm. It's a Seattle company where I live when I'm not here, and I still can't pronounce it correctly. Sorry, Tom. But they make like great like soft shell travel bags, which because all the airports out here have those carts and stuff.
Right.
The moment I get off, it's like book into the travel thing and just go. So I don't do hard shell.
And how about attitude? What kind of attitude should you take with you when you're traveling?
Oh God, show up early and just chill.
Yeah.
I take it as time to read books.
Yeah,
like
I don't like racing.
I hate
I want to
rushing.
be there with plenty of time ahead, especially
Yeah.
with all the cancellations and
Yeah.
changes that happen now. I find if you get there a little early, if your flight is
Bring
canceled,
snacks.
Yeah, for sure. You don't want to spend $20 on a protein bar, right?
Well, I'm a vegetarian, and the vegetarian meals on some of the airlines are fantastic. Actually, I always order. I usually, if I get pre-order it, it's the Indian vegetarian is usually the best option because it's like good curries and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's hard to mess up a dal or a curry. It's hard to mess that up. Well, that's not true, but it's harder. Whereas a lot of the other ones are. Yeah, nah, they're not good. So
Yeah.
I bring lots of snacks. And,
Yeah, great idea.
Kindle, read books, chill.
And what do you know about Canada?
A lot. Oh, last tip.
Mm-hmm. One more travel tip.
One more travel tip. Bonus travel tip. If you are a map nerd, I love walking and running every city that I go to. So like if I'm in like Sydney or Shanghai or like Seoul or actually it was in Houston a couple months ago.
Yeah, right.
Doesn't matter where. If possible, go run around the city. Although Houston, your ring roads, oh my God, I can't run around those. There's no trails next to it. Anyways, but when possible, I like to get a feel like you actually have a feel for the city. Mm-hmm. Like just that geography, like embedding that. It makes it feel like you're in a place, not just checking a box.
Right.
And I mean, you're still not a resident there, but getting away from. Unless you're worried about food poisoning, getting away from some of the chain restaurants. By the way, vegetarians, Happy Cow. Happy Cow is the best app ever. In almost every city in the world, it's got a list of all like the vegetarian, vegan, or veggie-friendly restaurants. Mm-hmm. And so basically, I just go on there and I'm like, ooh, what's some stuff near me that I can go explore? And it's usually really interesting local restaurants. And that's just it surprises you rather than just ordering from like a same old kind of place. Mm-hmm. Anyways, but yeah, Canada. Let's talk about Canada because. Yeah. That is my neighbor to the north. When I'm not here, I'm in a cabin on San Juan Island, which is, we look out to Canada. We look out to like Vancouver Island and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I've seen it with my own eyes. I stayed there for about 6 weeks earlier this year. Beautiful place. I didn't get to see any orcas.
I'm sorry you didn't see orcas.
For that. Maybe next time.
They hide in the winter a little bit, but yeah.
Okay, so we're going to put your Canadian knowledge to the test.
All right.
In a short segment called Canadian Trivia. Are you prepared?
I'm ready, James.
Okay. All right. So, Canadian Trivia Question 1, and there are 5 questions here. If you get all of them correct, that would be a 100% perfect score. So it's your standard kind of trivia rubric.
Can I give a shout out to my brother to the north, Brendan
do.
Graham Alexander, now based in Dallas with his amazing wife and kid. They're
Mm-hmm.
awesome. But all my Canadian knowledge comes from him. I just need to be clear about it. Also, my friend Peter Beresford, but Brendan has actually hit me if I don't know my Canadian trivia.
Yeah, so Brandon, you have a lot riding on this one,
You
too.
do, if I let you down.
Let's see how good of a teacher you've been. Question 1. While still playing for the Pittsburgh Penguins, Mario Lemieux led the national team of what country to Olympic gold in 2002?
Tricky. So oddly enough, knowing this because I actually played Mario Lemieux's video game back on the Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
It's a great video game, by the way, and I followed his illustrious career after that. I'm going to say Canada, James. I'm going to say Canada.
And you are correct. Okay,
that's good.
excellent. 1 for 1 so far. You're making Brendan proud. Question 2. What 2007 film, written by Diablo Cody, stars 2 teen actors from Canada?
Ooh, that would be the awesome actor Elliot Page and Michael Cera, who's got his moments. Arrested Development was his peak. Is Juno.
Yeah,
great
excellent.
movie, great
excellent.
film.
And my follow-up was going to be, who are those 2
Oh,
actors?
my apologies.
But you got it
My apologies,
exactly
yeah.
right. Okay, so Juno is correct. That means 2 for 2 so far. Question 3, here we go. What country outside of the United States draws the most American tourists each year?
Well, it's not Hong Kong. I'm going to say Canada. Final answer.
Final answer.
Canada. Can I phone a friend? Final answer. Canada. Final
Canada
answer.
is correct.
Okay,
Canada is
cool.
correct, yeah. No need to phone a friend there. Question 4. 3 out of 3 so far. Doing great. Question 4. English is the most spoken language in Canada. French is second. What language is third?
Now, being based in Hong Kong, I can definitely answer this, especially because I go to Vancouver a lot. The diaspora, it is going to be Chinese, actually, Chinese. And doing a general category there because in Vancouver, you're going to get more Cantonese. Other regions, you're going to get more Mandarin, Putonghua, that kind of stuff. And I believe number 4 is going to be Korean, but I could be wrong about that.
I don't have the answer to number 4.
But number 3 is Chinese. Number 3 is Chinese. The wide range of all, the various languages and dialects of Chinese.
Yep, we can include everything under the umbrella of Chinese. So
Cool.
Chinese is third. That's awesome. 4 for 4. Question 5. This is for all the maple syrup here.
I love maple syrup.
Thistles and a unicorn take up space in Canada's coat of arms, repping which UK, United Kingdom, constituent country?
Ooh, nice. This one I oddly know because I'm going to be doing a race there in 2024. There's some really nice races up in the Highlands there. So James, I'm going to say Scotland.
You are correct.
Is there going to be a
Scotland is
special effects when we fist bump?
Oh, I can add a sound effect in
okay.
there. Yeah.
That proved.
Kaboom, or something
we
like that. Yeah, that's right. So you're going to do a race in Scotland?
All over. I've got some other ones in other parts of the UK as well. But yeah.
Oh, excellent, excellent.
There's a lot of good runs up there.
And do you know, by the way, how to catch a unicorn?
How to catch a unicorn?
Yeah. It's not a trick question. There is, and you've already completed the Canadian trivia. This is not part of Canadian trivia. It's just an outside extra bonus
Catch a
question.
unicorn. I know that in the mythology, unicorns like virgins.
Oh, really?
No, that's an actual. Not trying to make a joke here, but in the mythology, they were supposed to. They would be. You could be like they wouldn't like run away if you were male, female. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You were a virgin. So I don't know if you're trying to make an aside that.
What would they do to me if I?
I don't know, James. I don't know. I'm not trying to make a joke here. Like genuinely, from my knowledge of unicorn mythology is relatively limited.
Well, let me fill you in. So,
okay, tell me.
If you want to catch a unicorn, first of all, you need to be quick. Secondly, you need a tree. You simply stand in front of that tree. You provoke the unicorn as much as possible. You get it to charge towards you, and at the last possible second, you just get out of the way and let that unicorn, penetrate that tree.
There's the virgin part.
Yeah, it gets its horns stuck in the tree, and boom,
Okay.
you've cut yourself a unicorn.
I feel like I should have that star come across that goes, the more you know.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, and one final thing. I want to ask you to share something with the audience. If you have some, nugget of useful knowledge, some, maybe there's a phrase or a kind of, I don't know, a mantra or something that you live by. What's something that you want to share? Some bit of wisdom or knowledge that you can pass on to anyone who's watching to help them improve their lives.
Oh my! Actual
Or
knowledge?
their work life.
Actual, like, not unicorn-based knowledge. Like,
It's up to
it could
you.
be.
It's your moment.
Two favorites. James Clear wrote Atomic Habits. Great book. He's
Yeah.
got that amazing quote: "You do not rise to the level of your goals; you fall to the level of your systems." A lot of times when we're trying to do things, we have these big, bold goals, but they're not built into these like little bite-sized chunks. And so we tend to get really, really disappointed prematurely because we're so focused on the goal that we don't recognize it's just these tiny, 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 infinitesimally small little 1% changes, as he labels them, that actually get there. You know, you don't want to become fluent in Spanish. Great goal. It's an awesome goal. Quiero aprender español. But you're not going to learn it by tomorrow. But 2 or 3 words a day in a year, you got 1,000-word vocabulary.
Yeah.
So just that idea, almost everything that I'm doing is based on incremental change, just tiny little changes, and just biting my tongue, because you got that big goal that just weighs on the back of your head. You're like, oh, I want to be done with this book, or I want to be done writing this or doing this, but it's like, nah, it's like, are you further along in it than you were yesterday?
Yeah.
And if the answer is yes, awesome. If the answer is no, then yeah, that's a day off. That's fine, but it's that consistency there. So yeah, that's my nugget.
Okay, I love it.
I stole it from James Clear, but it's a good nugget.
Well, yeah, I mean, most of what we know, we learned from somewhere else, right? So we're passing it on to you.
The Picasso quote, "Good artists borrow, great artists steal."
Yeah.
Best quote about that part of that quote, Picasso stole it from another artist. He's not even the creator of that quote. So yeah. We are thieves of eternity.
Yeah, absolutely. So here we are. Oh, that's our band name right
We
there.
are thieves of eternity.
Thieves of eternity.
Thieves of eternity.
Yeah, thieves, either way, I like it. Well, let me thank you for joining me on this podcast today. I had a great time
Thank you.
talking to you.
It's the broken one.
We're going to continue. Oh, shit. Sorry about that.
It's fine.
But I didn't shake it super hard.
No,
Yeah.
no.
I'm a very kind.
You are. He's a gentle
handshaker.
shaker.
Yeah.
He's a gentle
shaker. Well, thanks to Joshua Davies for joining me on Work in Progress today. All of you, I'll see you in the next one. Hope you enjoyed it. And take that useful nugget and do something with it.
Hug your moms and dads.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Did you
no
enjoy
worries.
it?
Yeah, it's fun. I always like chatting. It's random stuff.
I hope it wasn't too long.
No,
I
dude,
try
I
to
don't
keep
care.
it to around the 30
No, you're
minute
fine.
mark.
You're
but-
fine. I've got no idea. I tend to ramble, so.
And I have to remember to wear a watch or keep time next to me, but I keep forgetting.